Hey everyone, welcome to a full timeout. Tonight's guest has been with SIPAG since its inception in 1986. As another member of the Mythical Five, he was their energy guy and workhorse, delivering to several championships throughout SIPAG's history. For the last 26 years, he's been working with the same company while on Wall Street. Tonight we want to welcome Edwin G to the program. Hey Ed. What's up, Ed?
Hey guys.
Hey Ed. Full timeout.
What's going on? Before we get started, I just want to congratulate both of you. JC, I think, expecting a new addition to the family, so congratulations.
Thank you, man.
And
thank you very much.
I know this is would have been your wedding weekend, but deferred nuptials.
Yeah.
I'm sure something to look forward to, so congratulations there.
Thanks. Before we start, Ed, this is a trophy you gave me.
There you go. There's one more year missing now, JJ.
2004, Jerry Rabo. I still have it. Thank you.
I remember that, man.
Fast forward.
That's a great story that was shared. But I just want to kick off. Just want to say cheers. Thank you for getting on.
Cheers.
Really excited to have you on, Ed. Like I said, we started this out. It was kind of just us just messing around after basketball one night, sharing stories, and then a couple other guys were just kind of chiming in and trying to just piece together the timeline of SIPAG, and we're like, you know what, it'd be cool if we had our own show or something, and here we are a couple episodes in. So we're fortunate to get you on. I want to shoot you the first question, Ed. Take us back to your early memories of meeting the guys, Romel, Chris, Paul. When did you and Jerry meet everybody?
Yeah, so me, the quote-unquote Mythical Five, we've known each other pretty much our whole lives. Me and Jerry essentially lived a block away from Romel. We went to the same grammar school from 3rd, 4th grade. Me and Mel played on the same Little League team, I think when we were like 9, 10 years old. The Expos, I think it was. Our parents were big basketball guys, right? So my dad and Romel's dad and Romel's uncle, they were on that original Saints team, which was kind of just like a rec basketball Filipino league at CYO Center. So there was, these guys playing, we were, let's call it, 10, 11, 12 years old, just watching them like, used to watch us and sitting in the stands, running around, creating mischief. And that's where CYO Center in Port Richmond, that's where essentially I met Chris and Paul. There used to be this empty lot right on the side of the CYO Center. Dirt, grassy patches, and it was fenced in, right? Because it wasn't really a nice neighborhood. But I'd see Chris and Paul running, fighting with each other, yelling at each other. So, me, Jerry, and Romeo just kind of like palled around with them. And the rest is history, right? Like 35, 36 years later.
Wow, yeah.
Championships, college, we're all in each other's wedding parties, and right now they're actually in my backyard hanging out. So I'm here with you guys. So the bond is still strong.
That's awesome.
Talk about your integration into SIPAG's open team and the beginning of the Dynasty Era.
Yeah, so I think you've seen some of the prior interviews, right, with Chris and Paul. Jerry and Chris essentially were, they're a bit older than us, 1 or 2 years older. So they were playing up, I think Jerry was a freshman, sophomore, and Chris was a sophomore, junior. Playing up with the, those old RTA travel team from Queens who kind of merged into that New York team. So then again, we kind of, hung around the tournaments, and, we would pal around. We were kind of the mascots, giving out water, giving out the towels during timeouts and stuff like that. And it just kept us hungry, right? Like we all had a passion for basketball. We, played it, through our grammar school years, all CYO and organized leagues. After we were old enough, we, started to scrimmage with them, and kind of like what we were doing now with, Romel's kids and some of my kids, my nephews, we're actually playing these guys. And then, something happened and we can actually hang with these guys, right? Like we're faster, we're quicker. We may not be as smart as them at that point, but, physically we started catching up. So from then on, it was that, what was that? Detroit team, when Chris and Jerry played, And then we jumped on the next year. Tita Larry, your dad was the coach, and he would, again, put us in, certain spots just to give us the experience. But, it kind of fed that hunger and drive to kind of want to play more and work harder at it.
So during that time, like you mentioned, being the younger one, just kind of waiting your time to really, let out and get out and get on the floor. Describe your role into like your early times, like, facing older competition, more mature competition. What was your role as a younger guy?
Yeah, I think Paul and I were both, second, third string, those guards that if you needed to kind of lock down a point guard or a shooting guard or just kind of get under their skin, that was our role, right? We were a big pressing team back then, and we would be at the top of the press, and just trapping and trying to steal the ball and pester people. People used to joke around, Ed would, he would taketh and he would giveth right back, right? So I get a steal, kind of pass a turnover right back to the other team, get another steal. So, it was that energy that kind of, was kind of my reputation that, and it kicked off it was infectious on the other guys as well.
JC mentioned that, obviously your brother and you met Chris and Paul and Mel. Those guys, you grew up with them. And guess what was it like talking, winning and playing with those guys, your best friends and your brother?
Yeah, we, Chris and Jerry kind of did their own thing, right? Like in social circles. So we didn't really start getting close until after, we were older, 17, 18, 19. But when we were like 15, 16, 17, we had this, essentially separate groups. We had our own social circles with me and Paul. Mel was a little bit of a loner because he was off, a year younger than us. He was in high school, and then, he was kind of flourishing it more and doing his own thing. But whenever, our parents were still friends, right? So we got together at, people's houses and we bonded, nothing to do. We'll play basketball, and our parents would sit around drinking and watching us, scrimmage and things like that. Saturdays, we'd go down to PS35, Tita Larry, Tita Sonny, Tita Nelio, they'd come down and they'd actually play with us, run full court as well. So I think from that standpoint, that bond of just playing together and being around each other, and, we're a whole bunch of characters, right? A lot of jokes, a lot of, just cracking on each other and roasting each other. And that kind of made us laugh. And at the same time, there was other people like, Teddy Boy, Alcantara, for example. He wasn't really into the basketball thing, but he would work out with us, right? So we go to his house every day. We'd work out sometimes twice a day. He'd spot us. We'd do bench presses and squats and things like that. So we had this real good routine going. A lot of us were jobless at the time, right? None of us really worked, going through high school and, college. We did some, part-time work, but a lot of it was just training and basketball and hanging out with each other. So, just that chemistry on and off the court, for those number of years, still to this day, we'll sit around, drink a beer, talk about plays and basketball, talk about, people's skills, talk about our kids' skills and, what we can still do. So that, just being inbred and around that whole circle was, it just manifested into, something that was really special.
What point for you, like, late teenager, early 20s, at what point did you feel very comfortable on the team? Because you guys had a lot of older guys in the beginning, guys like Slick, guys like Ben. I'm sure there's more, but at what point did you feel like, you know what? Yeah, all right. I'm carving out a spot for myself. Yeah,
I think and we used to play, all over the place. We used to play at Clove Lakes Park, right? And we wouldn't be on the same team. We'd split it up, try and be, even talent across the different teams. It was during those like pickup games when, you would start winning, a couple games, and then, nobody could stop you. There were some times that I felt like I was just, in the zone. I can drive or jump over people and things like that. And I remember it was at the Rat Hole in Brooklyn, so I had this church gym, St. Michael's, that we played at in Brooklyn in Bay Ridge. We were playing, and Ben was like, yeah, Ed, go for it, close the game out. And he was on my team, and we were playing pickup, and he's giving me, the go ahead, to kind of, finish the game. So I think there's a passing of the torch over time, as, Paul and I and Mel especially, kind of got more mature, more physical, and filled out. I think, these guys kind of knew it was time to, pass that baton on.
How much were they a help when you guys were younger in terms of, acclimating yourself to the more physical, older Filipino men's league, type of play? How much of that was like,
I mean, just I think hanging out with those guys and, those pre-NABA, right? You had the PABA tournaments and, Filipinos, especially the ex-PBA players, pretty dirty. But we had, Eddie Boy Mendoza was a good, role model. We had Abe, Bacani, Ben and Kevin, and Ramon Alba. They would tell us, what to look out for, how to protect yourself, going into the paint, where to lean on people, to get them off balance. So they knew all those tricks. And we practiced them in the park playing pickup in the rat hole when we had practice. We'd actually practice hooking each other right on the post, or we'd practice, chicken winging somebody trying to box them out. And how to do it subtly was a lot of, what they had taught us. So,
wow.
Definitely owe a lot to those guys.
Truly an art, huh? It was an art.
It was an art. The wraparound now gets called a lot of the times, but back then, the refs weren't really onto it. They hadn't seen that in, Filipino style coming into, U.S. refs.
Now, being the team that won all the championships you guys did in the 90s, and having that target on your back, what were some of the maybe other teams, the rivalries you had to fight and go through?
Yeah, so I think, in NABA, well, we kind of talked locally first, right? We always kind of went to Kinilau and Piscataway, and we did some of the Jersey City tournaments. So there was, Kinilau was always kind of a big rival when we first kind of were coming up the ranks. It's a funny story, like, my wife now, Steph, she used to date one of the players over there. So that's kind of where I first kind of, I got first glimpse of Steph, and, 10 years, 12 years later, fate would have it, we hung out in the city and, started dating and things like that. And 3 kids later, just got a puppy today. So 4 kids.
Oh, congrats, man.
It's still there. But, Kinilau was definitely rivalry. Anthony Mendoza, who played, for your dad. Your dad had a lot of those connections with some of these players. And I think there was a little bit of, let me show these old guys what, these new guys can do, right? So there was some, like tension and rivalry with those teams. I think Grid Tech, a team from Jersey City and in the Jersey leagues, they were essentially, kind of similar demographics to us, in the, younger age, probably 18 to 22. And, they worked out a lot, they were physical, they could jump and things like that. So we had some good rivalries with them. Westchester, obviously, was a big local rival. And then you get into the NABA tournaments, right? With Toronto was always some team that we'd always get up for. They had a lot of, Toronto has a great basketball roots these days, right? Like it's just so bred in the Filipino community. So, and it was just a national pride thing, right? U.S. versus Canada playing basketball. So that was really exciting. And obviously with, Detroit is something that I think it's a big legacy, right? With us playing Detroit, and you had this big brawl, chairs thrown and things like that. So the funny thing is, like, after all these years, we'll see all these guys and, we're best of friends. Like, we're hugged, we'll drink together, and, we'll go out. We used to go out to the clubs. I remember when Toronto would come down here for the Jerry Ravo, we'd always go down Memorial Day, into the city and go clubbing with these guys. So it was really competition at its hardest, and then, friendship and sportsmanship, after, no harm, no foul. So it was a really good time.
That kind of culture that you're just describing, it's like, these guys are trying to knock you guys off your pedestal. Like you said, you guys, after it's done, once you leave those black lines, it's, life continues. So You know, there's more than basketball, but it's the basketball that's really kind of just drew you guys all, you know, together, or brought you guys together.
Yeah, definitely. I think, you know, even all those tournaments, like we were around 9/11, we were getting phone calls and texts from all the different NABA teams, because we were in New York, and, you know, we're safe, and is everybody okay? So, you know, it's definitely a connection, you know, across the Filipino community.
Awesome.
Looking back at it, at that, you know, that crazy run that you guys had, like, you know, it seemed to be every NABA and almost every, you know, Asian and Filipino basketball, you know, league locally, you guys were crowned king. Looking back at it, what do you think you guys were doing that maybe no other team was doing, or that really separated yourself from everybody else?
I don't know. It's hard to say, because a lot of these other teams, I'm sure that, you know, they were playing organized basketball. You know, they were playing in their high school teams. You know, there's a couple of guys played Christ the King, and so they were, you know, you'd hear all these rumors about these guys, and they were a lot taller than us. You know, some were bigger, but then we would just get on the court, and something would happen, right? Like, we just felt so invincible together. I mean, we pressed a lot. Which was kind of our thing, right? So we got a lot of press traps and steals, and, you know, up and down the court. But even in the half court game, you know, just the way we would move the ball, and we'd know where everybody would, you know, like to take their shot, or, you know, one or two plays like hockey assists, you know, going around. It was, again, I think it was just kind of the culmination of just hanging out, being together, playing together for all those years. And, you know, something special just clicked across the, you know, it's probably 10, 12 years, right? And we had that run, which was pretty, again, special. Great memories for me.
Now, my first year playing with Open, you were on the team. You actually left the Saints to play with SIPAG in the SIPAG tournament at Tech, SIPAG League. What was it like being a veteran to, you know, some of the guys coming up before you?
I think, you know, I always kind of lived by this, you know, you pay it forward mentality, right? So when I was a little kid, you know, 8, 10, 12, you know, I was hanging out with like Pat Nierva. It was, you know, he was older than us, but, you know, he had this kind of Michael Ray Richardson move, and, you know, kind of like the slide step, you know, layup, and, you know, I guess it would be a Euro step these days. But he kind of showed us the ropes. There's a couple of guys, and, you know, John Maglasan, like there was so many of these different like older players that we would look up to, and then, you know, they took us under their wing, and we were cocky, you know, honestly. I think it was probably Chris was the ringleader, right? Like he would kind of make fun of, you know, he would roast everybody, and we would just kind of be his, like, you know, his audience, his laugh factor, you know, and that stuff. But, you know, when we played basketball, you know, they kind of strung us along. We passed them. And then as we got older, and, you know, how do we saw, you know, you guys come up, we saw, you know, Champ and Benj and Miguel and Pat Pilar and all these people that were, you know, essentially looking up to us, and how do we, and we taught them the same thing, right? How to chicken wing and box that and hook and things like that, right? So you kind of, again, pay it forward is the mindset, you know, that it was, you know, founded upon us, and so it feels only right that we would pass it along to kind of keep the legacy going.
I mean, JJ shared that story regarding, like, you know, his first experience, and, you know, my question to JJ, because I didn't know that you had given him your trophy after that.
We got so many trophies those days. It was like, you know, you get on, you finish the tournament, and you're walking all these like trophies in your car.
Ed, for you, like my staple memory of Ed Grosby is like just best forward Ed Grosby, best forward, and it just seemed like, you know, because I was around, you know, I felt like I was in the gym for you guys, and like I just felt like every year was just guaranteed, like you were that. So, you know, again, I asked JJ, like, if you hadn't done that for JJ and haven't given that kind of that memory, which to anybody else might have been like, oh, this guy just gave me a trophy, like, but for you to do that, you know, JJ shared that he's, you know, very appreciative, and like, you know, he said that you became one of his favorite players. You know, one of mine for sure, because I always liked your tenacity on defense. Obviously, you're one of the guys who almost consistently were dunking at least during warm up. So as a kid, you're watching a Filipino guy dunk. It's like, oh man, it's crazy. But I just remember your hustle and just being very gritty, and your style of play, and just being all over the place. And you described, give one who gives and take it,
Yeah.
take it. So that might need to be on a share for you, Ed. But with
Yeah,
all
but we
the
all knew our
NABAs,
roles, right? Like we knew like around that time, and we would break out, and I would kind of be that go-to person, playing rec leagues or my corporate leagues at work. But when we got back together, we knew like Mel was the man, Chris was the shooter, Paul was the point guard, and Jerry was that low post and leader. We could step out for the three, and my job was like defense, lockdown, defend on their best player, and just bring that energy to the the game. So that was kind of our roles. I don't know, we just kind of morphed into that over time, right? And we just loved each other, right? Nobody wanted to take the spotlight. Again, like we knew that if five of us together would be more successful than one alpha male trying to take over. So it was just, again, special chemistry that we had.
if you could give us your favorite NABA memory, which one would it be?
I think it's been so long, right? So I think the memories of taking that bus ride, those couple of years after 1990, we went a couple straight, and we just top of the world. We were winning like local tournaments, summer tournaments, into the winter tournaments, into NABA. Those bus rides up there, like there was so much pride, right? 2 bus loads of people. There's a whole bunch of caravans of cars behind them. And, we'd go to Toronto, go to Chicago, go to Detroit, go to Washington. We'd be in the back, with our radios and, either girlfriends or non-girlfriends at the time, and just, have a great time. All the parents, adults in the front, with their drinks and their coolers. And, I just remember, like, those were the fun times, the excitement, and that was just build as you go into, these intercities, and then checking into the hotel, right? Just getting off the bus and with our SIPAG, warm-ups, and everybody was looking at us, right? So you go into the lobby, kind of hang out over there, and then, we'd do that lap, right, of the lobby once you get checked in, see who's around and stuff like that. And, there was a time when we used to actually go out, to a bar or club just to check out the city. We were that cocky that, we could go out and, hang out and party and still win, 2-3 games the next day type thing. So, those were great memories. The basketball memories itself is probably, Staten Island was a good one, right? Like that first NABA that we won, after, Chicago, when we lost, we got second place, we lost in the championship. And then, Staten Island in 1990, which kind of kicked off the streak, was a great memory for me. You kind of fast forward when all the way to my seniors, when I played for the senior division, right? When we got back together, and this is probably, what year was that? I don't even know.
I think 2010, Jersey Shore.
2010, from 1990, right? 20 years later, we're back with Abe Bakani and Ben Fausto and these people that brought us up, 20 years earlier. We're all older. We're on that senior team, and, we won it there, beating Orlando. That was pretty special as well. So it just kind of takes you, you get very nostalgic thinking through that whole, 10, I forget how many championships in the Open, I was a part of. I think we won 8 in the 90s, right? 8 of 10. There was a couple more in 2000s. And then you kind of get into 2010 when you're, a senior, 40 and over, playing with the same people that you looked up to, when you were 14, 15 years old. It was kind of a special thing.
That's special, man. Yeah. The way you described it, man.
Yeah. It was a great time.
I remember
we all came, it was Jersey Shore, so it was like 15, 20 minutes from my house. Like before the championship game, we all came back here, sitting around, eating, sitting in the pool. And, again, it was just kind of, you felt that we knew we were going to win. Orlando was tough that year. They were like younger. They had, they had Ed Nerone. They had, I think 2 more PBA players on that team. And, we were. No, I'm not gonna lie, we were old, right? But we still, we still pulled it out.
Yeah, I remember that 2010 game. We had Chris on last week, and he said you guys used to bow to the crowd. And I remember that you guys did it, and he told me after what it meant. But that's crazy.
Yeah, I don't remember. I saw that interview. I don't really remember that. Maybe that was just Chris.
Maybe in his head he was down by himself.
I remember we had Alvin Canlas used to be our male cheerleader. He used to get in front of like 1,000 people and like full stands of, and just do all these, give me an S, give me an I, give me a P. So those are good memories.
Now your sons play ball. Your nephews.
Yeah.
What are some things you tell them to take with their basketball journey? Some advice, how to approach the game.
Today's generation, man, they're cocky, right? Like there's too much, N1 and PS4, NBA going on. So I think Jerry's that hard ass, right? That kind of like Tito Larry, like your dad, like Rich Postiglione, who was one of our coaches at St. Teresa and more Catholic, that kind of strict disciplinarian, and Jerry's the one that kind of keeps them like straight and narrow. So I think from that standpoint, like, they watch the videos. I mean, we just played them now for 2 hours, right? And kind of doing all the tricks and things like that. So, but he's got them training, they're doing like plyometrics. He's got them running up my street with a parachute, on their back, trying to get them more quicker and agile. He's got them, box jumping and, doing a lot of the same drills that we did. I remember I used to, to get the hops, to be able to dunk, right? Tito Yulo used to sit in my backyard with my dad and they just hang out and talk and drink whiskey and stuff like that. And I'd be in my backyard in Staten Island, with a weighted vest on, just trying to jumping up and grabbing the rim, jumping up, playing taps on the backboard, just trying to get that, fast twitch muscles going. Then you take the weighted vest off and then you just try and, dunk, 15, 20 times until your legs are just like shivering and stuff like that. He's got them doing the same thing back here with strength shoes. I think Jerry still got his strength shoes from the 90s.
That's awesome.
Little platforms that, that he's got his kids wearing. So, yeah, he's definitely working them, pretty hard. So it's tough though, right? They can't play full court. They can't play pickup just because of the situation we're in. So it's a little, frustrating for these guys. They would have been in like 2 or 3 leagues right now.
But it's good to hear that they're at least hopefully you guys get a consistent days of nice weather. They can be outside more.
Yeah.
But it's great to hear, like you mentioned before, just paying it forward and now passing it on to the next generation guys too. So we're looking forward to them too.
Yeah. Yeah. Some of these guys like Mel's like Roman Santos, like Mel's son is he's going to be special, man. He's got that moxie, that raw skill, that raw talent. So.
Match with some height too.
Yeah, he's 6'3", 6'3" now. 15,
that's crazy.
So.
Ed, there was always one figure on the sidelines for most of my memory of watching guys during the 90s and early 2000s, and it was Buddah.
Yeah.
Mike Flamenco. What was it like playing or having him, in your corner, during that and describe like what he meant to you guys or what he meant to you?
Well, Boods meant a lot to me. I think he always used to say I was his favorite player. And I think
was his favorite player too.
He said that was one of his techniques, right? Like how to get people to take a bullet for him, essentially, right? Chris said it right the other day too. Like Boods wasn't this X and O's guys, right? He didn't know all these like elaborate plays and back picks and things like that. His huddles were basically, we're gonna do a fist and we're gonna run. Let's kill him. So that was kind of his whole. And we all knew, how to play by the time he kind of, came in to coach us, through that whole dynasty period, right? We had the foundation from, your dad, Tito Larry, and, again, Richie Post from, some of our upbringing. So we knew how to play. And then he just essentially, he knew how to motivate people, right? Like he essentially, you know, he would treat me differently, how we would treat Jerry, how we would treat Chris or Paul or Mel. But he knew all the things that kind of, you know, pushed our buttons to kind of get us going, right? And he was always on it, right? He was always thinking about basketball, thinking about, you know, the game, and, you know, we'd be out to dinner, we'd be out at a club, or, you know, sitting in the lobby of a hotel, and he's always thinking the game, right? Like, how should we treat, you know, playing Dean LeBaron on Toronto, or how should we, you know, think about playing, you know, Detroit, or, you know, some of the bigger teams. So from that standpoint, you know, he's always pushing us, influencing us, coercing us to actually think about the game. And then, you know, it just happened that, you know, we would all take all our foundations and execute during game time. So, you know, I have a lot of memories of Buddah. A lot of them were off the court, right? Like, you know, he had that moxie too, right? Like he, you know, walk into a gym, and, you know, we walk out behind him, and, you know, Buddha's this jolly guy, and we just felt like we were, we were the shit back then. So, you know, a lot of that was just Buddah, and, you know, how he kind of portrayed himself, and then kind of rubbed off on us.
All right, Ed, I got a couple of photos to share. Just walk us through them.
Yeah, this is like, you guys watch Hot Ones on YouTube?
All right.
Yeah, so this is 1986, right? So Paul and I were freshmen in high school. Mel was in 8th grade, Jerry's sophomore. We were playing this travel Filipino team. You know, they were kind of doing a tour at Staten Island. We paid them, I think we actually, you know, put a pretty good beating on them. Just from, I remember Tita Emmy was our coach at the time during this game, and he, you know, halftime, he says, like, yelling at us all. He's like, "Get in the locker, all of you." He's like, and so we all thought we got in trouble. We're getting in the locker. Everybody's, you know, tense and looking at him. He's like, "It's perfect. You're all perfect. Don't do anything different." So that was kind of one of the memories, you know. And then after the game, you know, we started trying to, you know, obviously, you know, tap foam when you're taking layups, and we started boosting each other, and we all got pictures on the hanging on the rim. You know, that's Mel in 8th grade, and, you know, you look at Mel now, totally different transformation. So it was kind of a fond memory.
Cool. It's impressive. The rim's not even bent.
Well, Mel probably weighed like 110 pounds back then. Yeah, this is a boys club in Jersey City. Who's that little guy down there?
That's Banjo.
That's Big Brother Banjo. Yeah, like, again, Banjo and Champ. A lot of the pictures, right? You just see them like pounding around, and, you know, similar thing when we were young. And obviously there wasn't a lot of photos back in the you know, early 80s into the, you know, late 80s. But, you know, we would do the same thing, just hanging around, you know, the different intercity teams, you know, just absorbing that and stuff like that. But this was in Jersey City, the boys club, which was one of our favorite places to play. You know, one of the rims was a little bit lower, and it was like, so you could actually, you know, it was probably like 9 feet, 8 inches. So you could probably like boom down on it a couple times. I think I caught 1 or 2 in games in Jersey City, but
nice.
Yeah, it was a fun time. This was this is Chicago, first NABA, I guess, in 1989. This is when we lost in the championship to Chicago.
You can tell by your faces. No one.
Yeah, I mean,
everybody looks so upset.
This gym was like, it was on the beach, right? Lake Michigan, and there was no air condition. The floor was super humid. You kind of slot all over the place. But, you know, this is when, and we're all young here, right? We never really played together, but, you know, Ben and Moan are the only they're in the middle over there. The only like senior statesmen that had kind of experienced this through all the PABA intercities. So essentially after this tournament, kind of motivated us, you know, to get the work in, and we got, you know, went into 1990 when it was on Staten Island, and that kind of kicked off, you know, the run. Yeah, I remember this is a sad trip going going home that time. Yeah, so, we're 1991. I think this is in Toronto. I forget the actual, after Staten Island, it went up to Canada. I joke around with Buddah, right? Buddah had all these assistant coaches. How many you got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. He's got 9 assistant coaches on his team. But this is another. I think this is our second championship, right? After
Nice.
we're still young, and you can look at our bodies, and again, as you go through the different pictures, you tell us we're maturing and physically getting stronger. Look at male number 12 over there. He's still a little, he's still a little frail, but he still had hops back then.
The reason why we're wearing the black uniforms and the black tape is actually this is the year that Jerry Robbo passed away.
Yeah,
one of the founding fathers of SIPAG. So, for those of you, normally obviously SIPAG colors are blue and orange, but this particular year, you guys decided, I guess, what the organization decided to, pay respect to me and Jerry by going black.
Yep. The rest is soul. Yeah, so here, 92, you see Chris Kramer and King Tickzone over there. They were part of our rivalries in the local leagues, right? In Westchester and Lamar was their team. And, I think, Chris will tell you this all the time. He's like, we couldn't beat them, so we joined them type thing. But, this is, again, kind of us, developing that bond. And, as we kind of plugged in pieces here and there, it became an even better team. Chris Kramer got that MVP in 2010, right? And sure.
Yeah.
It was a special. It was good for me because he's a great guy and he deserved it. I think this is where we got the quote unquote Mythical 5 award, right? Like all of us got either best guard, best forward, MVP, best center, and then Chris got best 3-point shooter. So. This is one of those NABAs that kind of inked, a portion of that legacy with us, being part of that 5. So.
Where's Chris?
I think he was making a poo.
He was bowing. Hey, look at your pops.
Yeah, I was gonna say, look at that.
Yeah, this is, I was a high jumper, triple jumper in college, right? So. Story for life lesson for a lot of people, right? Sophomore year, I got cut from our JV basketball team at Farrell, right? I didn't let it kind of get me down. I tried other sports, turned out I was really good at track and field, so grew myself in the track and field, high jump, long jump, triple jump, got good at it, became Staten Island city champion, and then kind of got a track scholarship to Fordham. So I still loved basketball, but, because I was good at other things, you kind of use those skills to, accomplish your goals. So, a lot of that hops was from, doing track and field and putting it in basketball. And that was part of my energy factor, right? I could just run for days and not get tired, right? And so that was one of the advantages I had playing, in all these different leagues.
That's awesome.
But that guy was a lot taller than me too. He was probably like 6'3", 6'4", but it's and that was part of our legacy too. Like Jerry was the tallest guy at 6 foot, and then we're playing against these 6'3", 6'4" guys, and jumping over them and things like that. So there was a little bit of I guess honest that came with us performing. So
awesome.
Where is this? I think this is
Chicago 96.
Yeah, so Chicago, we got into there was a little bit of shaved heads, and I think we had stuff shaved in the back of our heads, during this time. But, again, like it's the same kind of nucleus of people, and, I still see these guys, keep in touch with them, to this day.
Same one, right? Same NABA?
Yep.
Yeah. And this is like ESC champion banjo, those little kids, that would tag along, kind of growing up. This is one of the Jerry Rabbits. I think this is one of the ones I think I got the MVP at this tournament. So it was one of the few that I got the MVP. But again, I think Jerry Ravos, and I forgot how many we won in a row. I think he's like 8 or 9 we won in a row. The irony is the one that we lost in May 2001, that was my wedding weekend. So a lot of the 5 didn't go to the Jerry Ravo and didn't play in it because they're in my wedding party. I think your dad, Tito Larry, kind of reminds me of that every once in a while. Yeah, and this is, us, this is at afternoons, I think, right? Like,
Yep.
and
Yeah, that's right. Near the entrance.
when you guys got into the restaurant business, right? We, again, support each other. We came down, of course, we're always, Paul's always the corny one that wants to kind of get the, the pictures with the 5, especially after he gets a couple drinks in them.
Play this one.
Yeah, here's some VHS, man. VHS tapes.
Damn, boomed it.
I gotta replay. That was effortless.
It was fun. I think a lot of the, a lot of these tournaments, the other team would just stop, right, and just kind of watch. There's a couple of people on our team that could dunk. Like Mel could get it down every once in a while. Slick, Alan Valeriano, Jerry, for a couple of years. But the other team would just turn around and watch us during warm-ups, and then we'd look back and we knew, they were already like psyched out in their preparation. So it was a little bit of a psychological factor, just doing, some of these dunks as well.
Who tried to dunk after you? That's you.
Who's that? That's Flick. Richie Cruz.
All right, we got one more.
Yeah, I think this is at, where is this, Manhattan College?
Yeah. 97.
Yeah, this is Manhattan College, so.
Double pump reverse. This is crazy. You gotta watch this again.
I used to have some decent ups, man. I used to do a lefty Jordan leaner from the right side.
I just remember that's the signature double clutch Edwin Grosby. I remember.
Yeah, I used to do a Dominique like windmill. So I had a couple in my arsenal.
Cool.
This is it was a psych factor for a lot of teams, just because we kind of throw them off their game.
Awesome photos and videos, Ed.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of brings back a lot of memories, right? And definitely fond memories across, all those years. It's definitely part of who I am.
All right. Before I let you go, I got a couple quick questions for you.
Yeah.
Why do you wear number 4?
Number 4 was Sidney Moncrief growing up. So, we were picking all these different players. Paul had Magic. I think Chris had Isaiah. Jerry had Jordan. And I was like, Sidney Moncrief. Yeah, he's the reason I should wear number 4.
What's your career high in points?
Oh, I don't even know. I've scored over 30 a couple of times in some, I forget what was that league down by St. Anthony's in Jersey City.
Golden Doors?
Yeah, Golden Doors. They had nice rims, good lighting. So I think I floated for 30 plus at some of those tourneys.
What's your go-to move?
It changed, honestly, over the years, right? Like, I think when I was young, it was just kind of slashing and kind of the 2-step and, taking these long strides, cutting through people and taking a layup. As I got older, I started doing this turnaround jumper, kind of going around the baseline and catching it on the left side and, turning over your left shoulder and taking that jumper. And then, playing seniors now, it's like, I feel like a Harlem Globetrotter sometimes doing some of the, slow motion moves that we do, but I feel like I'm more of a mid-range and 3-point shooter these days. I think it's just being out of shape.
All right, last one. Who's your favorite teammate? Can't pick your brother.
It's definitely, I think it's a hard one to say, right? I think it's between Paul and Mel, right? Like, I think Paul talked about REP and, Roman and Paul, but, those guys, Paul was, he was that assist guy and passer, but he would know how to kind of psych you up. And Mel was kind of that silent assassin. And we just had that chemistry. We knew when he was going to cut to the, the middle, and when I was going to cut to the baseline and stuff like that. And we knew how to cover for each other on defense, but definitely those two.
Awesome.
This is a quick,
Edwin,
yeah, this flew by, man.
Quick, man.
I said, for us as fans, for JJ and myself, being the young kids and earlier on in San Antonio Tech and seeing you guys, and being able to see you and your like I said, again, this goes back to, just seeing your hustle and your tenacious play on defense. It meant a lot for us, like, growing up, at least in the SIPAG, moving up the SIPAG divisions.
Yeah.
And then, being able to be on the same bench, early 2000s or mid 2000s for us, being high school, and just being able to at least say that, we played with Ed, we were on the same team at one point. That meant a lot as well. So you sharing your experiences and in your perspective, and just to bring us back to, where you started earlier on and what you did and some of the workouts you did, it's really cool. Like I said,
Yeah.
we're fans, man. We really are fans.
I appreciate it, guys. I think we're, especially now, right? Like with times being the way they are, it's super polarized, super sensitive. I think, people have to look inside themselves and just figure out how they can, give back and share, and, just equality and unity is something that, we try and especially me and my family, we try and, profess, and, SIPAG does a great job of it as well. So, keep on carrying the torch.
Thank you, man. Thanks for helping putting SIPAG basketball on the map.
Yeah, I have a lot of pride. I have a lot of pride in it too. I think we used to go travel around different vacation spots, and we'd say we play basketball from New York, and somebody always knew, SIPAG plays in New York. You know them, and that was kind of flattering. So definitely a lot of pride I have in the organization and the history that we've helped to formulate.
SIPAG's very own best forward, Edwin Grosby. But Ed, thanks for coming on the show. Like I said, we appreciate it. Keep doing what you're doing with the young generation, because we see those guys also in the gym, and hopefully we get to play with them one day.
Yeah,
that's what it's all about.
That'd be crazy.
Keep the chips coming, guys. Thanks.
Yeah.
And you guys keep doing what you're doing. This is great. It's great press for the organization.
Thank you.
Hopefully it inspires some of these kids, to just kind of push harder.
Hope so. Yeah.
Play ball. So.
Definitely hope so. But Dave, thank you for coming on. Let's get a last toast,
guys. Always
on
a
three,
pleasure, man.
On three, kill. 1, 2, 3,
kill. Cheers, guys. Love you.
Love you too, Ed.
Full timeout.
Hey, dust that trophy, man. All right, guys. We'll speak soon.
Thanks, Ed.
Thanks, Ed.